All right, welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always ready to jump into the sports world and see what's got people talking.
And today we're diving into some pretty spicy comments from LeBron James himself.
Oh, yeah. King James definitely stirred the pot a bit.
He did. Basically, this all comes from an ESPN First Take interview.
Yeah. First take, with Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A., of course, and Brian Windhorst,
Windhorst.
Gilbert Arenas,
Oh, Agent Zero chiming in. Love it.
and Wendy Nix.
All right. Solid lineup for some good discussion. So, LeBron, what did he say?
Yeah, so LeBron was coming off a Lakers win and gets asked about Anthony Edwards, seemingly not wanting to be the face of the NBA.
Oh, yeah. That whole thing.
And this is kind of what gets LeBron going.
Makes sense. I mean, LeBron's been carrying that weight for, what, like 2 decades? He probably has some thoughts.
Right. So he starts talking about this burden of nostalgia in basketball, echoing something Channing Frye said recently.
Oh, interesting. Fry's always got good insights.
He does. He does. But LeBron doesn't stop there.
Oh, I figured not. When does LeBron ever stop there?
He goes on to specifically complain about the constant negativity he sees from people who cover the game,
Calling out the media a bit there.
A bit, yeah. Like he's saying there's way too much focus on criticism and not enough on celebrating the greatness of players today.
Makes you wonder who he has in mind, right? I mean, is he talking about specific analysts, specific shows?
Well, he does kind of throw shade at shoes like inside the NBA,
Oh, really?
particularly Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny. Although he doesn't name them directly.
Oh, that's subtle.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see why that would rub some people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Especially those guys.
Right. And as you might imagine, Stephen A. Smith is ready to go.
Oh, yeah. Stephen A. never backs down from a good debate.
Never, never. So he fires back, defending NBA analysts, of course, many of whom, are former players.
Right, brings up a good point there. They're not just talking heads.
Hmm.
A lot of them have been in the trenches. They know the game inside and out.
Yeah, they do. And he's emphasizing, they're offering real insight based on their own experiences.
So it's not just hating, it's analysis.
Exactly. And Stephen A. doesn't stop there. He accuses LeBron of hypocrisy.
Ooh, hypocrisy. Shots fired.
He does. He brings up the decision, the whole load management trend, and how players try to control the narratives while also complaining about the coverage,
Okay, yeah, I can see that. It's like, LeBron, you can't dictate how people talk about you and then complain when you don't like what you hear.
It's a really good point. But LeBron also has a point, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not like it's one-sided.
Is it really fair to always compare today's players to, the legends of the past?
It's a tough one.
Does that comparison set an impossible standard?
That's where Gilbert Arenas jumps in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so, as a former star himself, Arenas brings up this comparison between the almost overwhelmingly positive coverage of the '92 Dream Team era to the much more critical tone we see today.
Oh, wow. That is an interesting contrast.
He's basically arguing that the constant Jordan comparisons create this impossible standard.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how good you are, you'll never be Michael Jordan.
Right, right.
And he uses this amazing analogy.
What's that?
He says Jordan's legacy is like making 100 perfect shots.
Whoa.
Doesn't leave much room for anyone else to reach that level, does it?
No, it really doesn't. It's like you're playing a game you can't win.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's funny because this LeBron thing, it almost mirrors how we understand history in general.
Yeah.
We tend to romanticize the past, look back with those rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I think we've all got that tendency, to build up these idols, then hold everyone else to that impossible standard.
Exactly. And that's where, critical thinking comes in. It's not about, dismissing the past, but, engaging with it, more thoughtfully.
So how does that apply to the NBA? Are we saying it's wrong to compare LeBron to Jordan or any player today to those legends?
I wouldn't say it's wrong. I mean, comparisons, they can be helpful, for understanding how the game's changed, how players excelled in their own eras, right? But we got to acknowledge the biases that come with those comparisons.
Like what? Assuming Jordan's era was, I don't know, more pure or more competitive?
Exactly. It's easy to forget all the factors that have shaped the NBA.
Yeah.
Rule changes, training, the whole culture. It's not just one thing.
Right, right. It's like comparing apples and oranges, really. I mean, the game's totally different. The athletes are different. The entire landscape's changed.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's what makes it so exciting to watch, right? I mean, instead of getting stuck on who's better, We should be celebrating what each generation brings to the court.
Right, right, yeah. It reminds me of, what Gilbert Arenas said about Jordan's legacy being like 100 perfect shots. Like, that really got me thinking.
Yeah, powerful analogy, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're always chasing this ghost of someone else's greatness.
Exactly. Instead of like, being encouraged to find their own style, to like chase their own dreams.
And the media plays a big role here. We need to move beyond these, like, simple narratives.
So how do we change that conversation? How do we find that balance of honoring the past while still like really appreciating the present?
It starts with being aware of our own biases.
Mm.
Are we letting nostalgia, cloud our judgment? Are we holding players to that impossible standard?
It makes you wonder, is it partly because there's just so much information now between like traditional media and social media?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? We haven't even got into social media's impact yet. That's a whole other can of worms.
It is. It is. All right. Well, so far we've got LeBron's frustration, Stephen A defending the analysts, and Arenas pointing out that impossible Jordan standard.
And don't forget Wendy Nix trying to find that middle ground.
Right. Right. And now I'm really curious about that social media piece of it all.
Me too.
Okay, so we're back, and I gotta say, this whole LeBron James media thing, it's really got me thinking.
It is pretty fascinating, right? How this conversation is so much bigger than just basketball.
It is, like, it makes you think about, how we deal with change, how we view legacies, all that.
Yeah, it's like this window into how our society kind of grapples with the past
Yeah.
and how, like, sometimes the past can make it hard to see what's right in front of us.
And I think that's where nostalgia comes in. Like, are we letting it hold us back from truly appreciating what's happening right now?
It's that balance, right?
Yeah.
Honoring the past, but also being open to how things evolve.
Yeah, I get it. Those iconic NBA moments, they're special.
Of course.
But it does feel like sometimes we get stuck there. Like we miss out on all the amazing stuff happening in the present.
And I think that's LeBron's point. Like, we're so busy comparing everyone to the legends that came before that we forget to celebrate the players of today. Their own unique talents and achievements.
So what's the answer? Are we just supposed to ignore the past? Like pretend those iconic moments never happened?
No, not at all. It's not about erasing history,
Yeah.
but it's about finding a way to integrate it. You
Yeah.
know, like we can acknowledge Michael Jordan's greatness and still be amazed by Giannis or Luka, right?
Mhm.
Like greatness can take so many forms.
Right, right. And each era of the NBA, it's got its own style, its own thing. It's like it's like comparing different genres of music.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't compare like jazz to hip hop, right? They each have their own beauty.
Exactly. And the NBA, it's always evolving. It's not static.
No.
It's constantly being shaped by players, coaches, fans, the media even.
For sure.
So speaking of media, we were going to talk about social media, right?
Oh, yeah. Social media, that definitely throws another wrench in the whole thing. Yeah.
It does. It does. It's like a whole other level of complexity.
It is. I mean, on the one hand, it gives fans this like crazy access to players and teams and info, but on the other hand, it can be this echo chamber where negativity just blows up.
Yeah, I remember Stephen A was really fired up about that, like frustrated that players get so caught up in all that online noise.
Yeah, he felt like it was distorting their view of, what real media coverage actually is.
And I think he's got a point. Social media, it amplifies the extremes. It's easy to get sucked into all that negativity.
And remember, it's not always real, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of it's driven by algorithms, and those algorithms, they just want to keep us engaged, even if that means, stirring up drama and outrage.
So we got to be careful, right? Like think critically about what we're seeing online.
Absolutely. Be mindful of how it's affecting us, even if we don't realize it.
So it's a lot of responsibility on fans, though. Like we just want to enjoy the game.
I know. And it's not about turning everyone into like a media expert or something. But I do think we can all be a little more aware of how we're adding to the conversation.
Hmm?
Are we feeding the negativity? Or are we finding ways to like genuinely celebrate the game and the players?
It's like that idea Wendy Nix had, the whole marketing greatness every night thing. What if we, as fans, did that too? What if we just decided to focus on the positive?
That would be pretty powerful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If the whole conversation shifted like collectively.
Yeah. Instead of, being stuck on what the game should be, what if we just embraced what it is now?
Yeah.
The evolution of it all, the different styles.
It's about seeing the beauty in the present moment, not just longing for some, idealized version of the past.
And I think that's what LeBron's asking for, really. not to erase the past, but to make room for the present. To recognize that greatness, it can evolve too.
And that's a message that goes way beyond basketball. It's about how we approach anything that's got that legacy, that nostalgia factor.
This has been, I don't know, this has been really eye-opening, honestly.
Yeah, for me too.
I feel like I'm seeing the NBA differently, LeBron James differently, even my own relationship to the game, honestly.
That's the power of these conversations, right?
It is. It is. So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this. What kind of basketball fan do you want to be? Are you going to be stuck in the past, always comparing, always criticizing? Or are you going to be open to the possibilities?
Mhm.
Celebrate what's happening now, Appreciate how the game's changing.
It's a choice,
Uh,
and it goes way beyond just basketball. It's about how we engage with the world around
That's
us.
a great point. So yeah, next time you're watching a game, ask yourself, what am I choosing to see? What am I choosing to celebrate?
Love it.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, remember, appreciate the greatness right in front of you.